What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about DC Universe Lazarus Planet Omega. This one, of course, is written by Mark Waid with Riccardo Federici on the art, and then the guy who does Monkey Prince as the writer of the backup storyline, and some other person on the story as well. But anyways, so Lazarus Planet Omega. Lazarus Planet has been a dud of an event, I think, overall. I think it's been very disjointed and kind of mishandled from DC's part, because pretty much every single tie-in has added next to nothing to the main storyline. Just the way it's all set up, it just feels like a way to kind of, trick people into spending extra money on stuff when they don't really need to get the main story. If you want to get the main Lazarus Planet stuff, just read Lazarus Planet Alpha, Lazarus Planet Omega, and if you want a little bit more context, I'd say Monkey Prince, because those, and Batman vs. Robin, obviously, but that's kind of the lead into this specific event. Just those, and we would have been good. In all honesty, they really should have just had Lazarus Planet be maybe 2 or 3 issues, or a couple issues just written by Mark Waid, and that's it. Didn't need all the tie-ins, didn't need all this other wasted time and money and just everything else. Just stick with Lazarus Planet Alpha, Lazarus Planet Omega, maybe another issue or 2 in between, and then that's it. And if you had to have any tie-ins, should have just stuck it with Monkey Prince and would have been good. And that's all you really needed to know with this thing. Yes, there's more Lazarus Planet stuff apparently coming next month, which, I don't know, it just feels like this event is just kind of all over the place. It doesn't feel as well put together as it should, because Lazarus Planet Alpha, I think, was a pretty decent start, all things considered, and Omega is pretty good for the most part, too. It just feels kind of rushed in some ways, the way everything kind of comes together, and they stop King Fireball and that, but it's still going to get picked up in this and Batman vs. Robin 5 and all that. So I don't know, I don't think we really needed a Lazarus Planet event. You could have just told the story primarily in Batman vs. Robin, but I don't know. I'm not running DC. It's just, it is kind of what it is. So yeah, I guess we'll quickly summarize what happens here. So at the end of the last issue, in terms of Lazarus Planet, like Lazarus Planet Alpha, Damian was confronted by King Fireball, who was pretty much ready to take him down. So it's him, Black Alice, and Monkey Prince doing all they can to stop this guy. Damian's able to get some backup aid in the aid of Zatanna, Green Lanterns, and all sorts of other things. Now the other team had to deal with possessed Batman Nezha, as we come to find out this time around. So Damian doesn't know that yet, and he's still kind of concerned for his team. And then basically all this backup comes in, powers and magic and are twisted all over the place. Black Alice is kind of the key to stopping King Fireball in this thing. She's able to restore the powers of some of the other members of the League, and there's John, who shows up briefly. He doesn't really say much, him and Superman are fighting. The JSA, I think, is kind of incorporated here. Just all sorts of different characters are here, but as you can see here, there's also Batman in that. Damian tried to get hold of his other team, but Nezha possessed Batman is pretty much unstoppable, it seems, this time around. And then King Fireball and Nezha have kind of their issues going on. Things are seemingly kind of wrapped up for King Fireball, and the Spectre regains his power and kind of traps him. But then there's still kind of one lingering plot thread left, and that's Devil Nezha Batman. You can see him, he's like, "Hey, Father, you're good. Hey, what's going on with everyone else? And don't worry, everything's accounted for." And then he thinks it's all good, but he doesn't realize he's about to deal with demon-possessed Batman, or Nezha-possessed Batman. So that's going to be concluded in Batman vs. Robin number 5. So there's that. I don't know, it's kind of weird. You're reading Batman vs. Robin 1 through 4, and then all of a sudden it jumps to 5. It's like, oh no, you didn't read these tie-ins first. So it's just the way the events are laid out. Or you could have just concluded in Lazarus Planet. You could have just made Batman vs. Robin 4 issues and say, that leads into this. But oh no, we're going back to it. I don't know. It is what it is. But here's the Monkey Prince and Nezha and King Fireball. Just more of their backstory. That's Jean Lun Yang as the artist this time around. It's not Bernard Chang, who typically does the Monkey Prince comics. It's somebody else. So it's more the backstory of King Fireball and Nezha. So you see just Nezha kind of as is before he became the Devil Nezha. And it's kind of a surprising, you wouldn't really expect him to kind of look this way. This also been showcased in a few other issues of Monkey Prince, if I'm not mistaken. But so it's that. You also have Red Boy, who becomes King Fireball. He kind of takes him in as a son. You see one of them wants revenge on Darkseid and Apocalypse. after all the stuff after his parents died, but then he blames Nezha for the whole thing, for the stuff that he kind of contributed to it. And that's basically kind of the setup and origin of these two characters in that. And it's saying to complete it all in Monkey Prince number 12. So Monkey Prince is going to be ending soon. I'll show you the strengths. Like, the artwork in this particular issue in Lazarus Planet Omega, I think, is really, really strong. Just kind of like the first Lazarus Planet Alpha storyline. Federici's artwork looks really good, and I know he tends to do a lot more cover-based artwork from what I've seen, but like with his interior stuff is quite good. There's a lot of good action, lots of different displays of powers. I like the stuff with Monkey Prince and how he's kind of stepped up in this event, and I think Black Alice was a real standout in this thing, and seeing her just try to forge her own path, and I'm curious to see where she'll end up going forward, because a lot of the stuff with DC is still a bit of a mystery. I don't think we'll really know what's going to happen until this Lazarus Planet event seemingly ends, because I haven't seen any of the solicitations for Damian, which is going to be kind of surprising, because he's supposedly supposed to make a big choice in the next issue of this event. So yeah, I mean, yeah, in some ways he's still kind of written a little bit jerky, but it's kind of more panic mode than just than kind of normal. We'll see how Wade writes them in a different circumstances, but for the most part, it's just kind of panic mode with all things going on. He's just not really in control of his emotions as much. But the Lazarus Reign stuff seemingly is stopped, and everyone seems to be kind of doing okay for the most part, except for obviously the other team who had to deal with Nezha, who's, you know, possessed Batman Nezha, who seemingly took them all down. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with Nezha and Damian, and if Monkey Prince and everyone else kind of factors into that other story. So it's going to be, it'll be an interesting ending to the story, and just to see where Dawn of DCU goes from there. But yeah, I did like Lazarus Planet Omega. I do think this event has not been handled the best, and it's been kind of a dud for the most part. You really should just read Lazarus Planet Alpha and Omega, and if you need a few other things, just read the tie-ins to Monkey Prince, and that's all you really need to know about this particular event. Although Monkey Prince kind of jumps around a bit, like when you go from one issue and then it's jumping back and forth to here and there, that's still kind of a little bit disjointed. But yeah, so they really should have just had Mark Waid write like 3 or 4 issues, and then that should have been basically it, because all those other tie-ins are pretty much pointless, don't really do much to add to the overall thing. You could have just included those in the upcoming like Brave and the Bold thing, just setting up new characters for different series. Just put those in a random anthology book. Don't advertise this whole big event and have stories that add nothing to the main story overall. They're just random side stories that have very, very loose connections. It's upsetting as a reader, because then you're just kind of tricked into buying something you think is going to add to the story when it really, really doesn't. It's just, it didn't quite hit the mark like I think DC was hoping for. But yeah, so anyways, those are my quick thoughts on Lazarus Planet Omega. I did think this one was pretty good, all things considered. This and Alpha are solid. In some ways, Omega does feel a little bit kind of rushed, but you know what? At this point, I'm just kind of happy we're getting to the end of this event in Batman vs. Robin, and we'll move into the dawn of DCU, because that's where I'm just like, okay, we'll be done with events for a while. Let's have some solo titles. Let's just take a long hiatus from end of the world, universe-changing events for a while, DC. Can we get that? Just a nice long, like, year break from major events like that. Maybe a crossover here or there, but nothing too insane. I need a hiatus from these events. I just want smaller, more focused storylines. I think the readers will enjoy that more, and I think it'll help the stories better, rather than a lot of these disjointed events with 100 million tie-ins that are just pointless, all things considered. So there you go. Oh, yeah, because, like, one of them, too, like, I want to bring this up because they had Dreamer in that whole Dr. Fate helmet. There is, like, a Dr. Fate helmet cameo, but it's not really followed up on in this issue. It's just, like, one panel of that. So why are we just going to, like, have to read something else down the road to get that story? Why didn't you include that in this thing? It seemed like it was going to be a bigger plot point than it was, but no, it's just another waste. So yeah, unless they followed up with it in the next issue of Batman vs. Robin, I don't exactly know, but I doubt it. But yeah, all right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this thing up because I got other things to do. I will be back later on today to cover more DC comic stuff, and yeah, it should be fun. So look forward to all that. All right. Well, that's all I got to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then. I will see you all in the next video. Post your comments down below, and we'll get to chatting. So take care now. Bye-bye then.